The Hollow House. The sky was heavy and gray, the clouds pressing down like a thick, suffocating blanket. The road stretched out ahead of us, narrow and lined with dead trees whose skeletal branches scraped against each other in the wind. Our old blue Chevy rumbled over the gravel, tires hissing softly on the wet earth. That it was late afternoon, the kind of hour when the sun struggles to shine through, leaving the world bathed in dull, uneasy light. Dad kept glancing at the road, saying, "10 more minutes. The house is right by the lake. Quiet. Perfect for a new start." Mom didn't answer. She just stared out the windshield, lips pressed together like she was holding back something she didn't want to say. Emily, my little sister, clutched her doll so tightly I thought it might rip in half. I watched the trees, twisted and blackened from who knows what storms over the years, swaying under the cold wind. Then, something darted between them. A shadow, too quick and too deliberate to be a bird. Dad slammed the brakes. "Just a damn crow," he muttered, though I could see the unease in his eyes. I knew better. That shadow had eyes. The cabin came into view at the very end of the road. A tall, wooden structure with a steep, weathered roof and dark siding. It looked abandoned at first glance, and yet it had a strange presence, like it had been waiting for us. Behind it, the pond stretched out quietly, its surface smooth and dark, reflecting the gray sky. The crescent moon peeked through the clouds, a thin silver sliver in the sky. Its light touched the pond, making tiny sparkles dance across the water. The scene was beautiful in a way that was unsettling, like staring at a frozen face. Dad said, "Here we are. Home sweet home." But even he didn't seem convinced. Inside, the smell hit me immediately. Wet wood, mold, the faint stink of rot. The floors creaked beneath our feet as we walked, each step sounding like a moan. Weak yellow bulbs flickered across the walls, failing to chase away the shadows lurking in the corners. Emily whispered, It's making noises." Mom forced a laugh. "It's just old honey." Dad went outside to check the electricity. He shut the door behind him, leaving the three of us alone. That's when I heard it, a faint metallic clang from the kitchen. Not loud, but distinct. I went to check, stepping cautiously. And there it was. A knife. A large kitchen knife buried deep into the wooden frame of the window. Its steel blade caught the pale daylight, glinting ominously. A single drop slid down and hit the floor. My chest tightened. "Mom, come see this," I shouted. She came in, confused, but when we looked again, the knife was gone. Only a deep gash remained in the wood. She said, "Maybe your father left it there." But when he returned, he swore he hadn't touched any knives. The sun had dipped lower, painting the sky in muted orange and gray. The wind rose, and fog began curling up from the pond like ghostly fingers. Soon, the drizzle started, tiny, constant droplets falling on the pond, each ripple sending out concentric rings across the surface. Emily stared out the window, whispering, "There's a woman in the water. She's looking at us." I tried to tell myself it was just a reflection, a trick of the fog and rain. But even through the mist, I could see her outline, tall, hunched, hair plastered to her pale face by the rain. She turned slowly toward the house. Mom gasped. And just like that, she was gone. No scream, no struggle, only the rain and the soft ripple of the pond. Dad went outside to search. I stayed by the window, watching. Fog wrapped around him, swirling and thick. He reached the edge of the pond, leaned forward, and then screamed. I ran out. His flashlight lay in the mud, its beam trembling over the surface of the water. The pond rippled unnaturally. Something pale floated briefly, a hand, before sinking again. Mom ran toward the water, calling his name. She slipped. There was a splash. I only heard the soft patter of the rain on my hood. When I reached the edge, nothing remained. Only Emily's doll, soaked and floating, stared up at me with its stitched eyes. I spent hours, maybe minutes, I don't know, staring at the pond. The fog thickened, rain softened into a whisper, but the water kept moving as if breathing. Finally, I went back inside, shivering. Everything was dark. The only sound was the soft, constant tap of rain on the windows. And then I saw it again. The knife, back in the same window frame, embedded deep into the wood. This time the blade was slick with something dark and sticky. I stepped closer, my breath fogging the glass. Through the mist, someone had written with their fingertip, "Come back." Morning came, gray and cold. The police said my family must have drowned. I told them about the knife, the woman, the whispers. They didn't believe me. They never do. Days turned into weeks, and I moved to the city. Tried to forget, but every time it rains, slow, steady drizzle, I smell the wet earth of that pond and hear the faint tap of metal on wood. Months later, I returned to the Hollow House. Fog hung low. The pond was still, the wind muted. The trees, skeletal and twisted, still swayed. My heart thumped as I approached the front door. Inside, the cabin smelled the same. Wet wood, mold, old decay. That I walked cautiously to the kitchen, eyes drawn to the window. There it was again. The knife, deep in the wood. This time, a drop of water slid down the blade as if it had just been placed there. And then I saw it. Faint scratches on the metal, forming letters. I leaned closer. "Come home. It's not over." I don't remember how I survived that night. Maybe I ran. Maybe I froze. All I remember is the whispers following me, drifting in from the fog and the pond, crawling into my ears. The Hollow House is patient. It waits, and it knows when you're alone. Now, every time the sky turns gray, every time I hear the soft tap of rain against metal, I feel it, that pull, that whisper, a promise or a threat. Sometimes I dream of Emily and Mom, of Dad screaming at the water. I wake up drenched, heart racing. On the desk next to my bed, there's always something, a knife, or a puddle, or the faintest impression of a fingertip on my window pane. And the whisper comes again, "Come home. It's not over."